All right, everybody, welcome to the first ever episode of a new series I'm starting on here called Cool Rides and Hot Riders. I'm not sure if that name's gonna stick, but we're gonna roll with it. And with this first episode, because it hasn't really gone anywhere yet, we're gonna talk about not only my buddy Skyler, who is behind the camera right now and you know pretty well, but also his '07 Volvo V50.
My name is Skyler. Not really a car guy, but every person has to have a car, so I bought one.
Are you a car guy?
I'm not. I'm not a car guy.
Do you want to elaborate on that at all?
I mean, cars are cool. I like some cars. Like me and you have had conversations about cars. Like I'm more about the aesthetic, not the performance. So like I don't get into, like horsepower and all that other stuff that goes into what makes the car run. But I'm more into like how the cars look.
All right, so here we are in Skyler's V50, and I'm going to give you a little bit about kind of the car itself, like the history, the model itself, and then we'll get into his specifically, because some of you might not know this, but this car actually wasn't around for very long, and they didn't make a whole lot of different models, which is unfortunate because, at least for me, and I know a lot of other car guys, like we love hot hatches, fast wagons, we love all that just because most of the time they're rare and they're super rad.
Well, I like the interior too. That's why when we were looking at cars, I was looking at those certain Mercedes, because the steering wheel looked a lot nicer and the air vents didn't look like, like an '86 Corolla.
So why Volvo?
They're super reliable. They last forever. I mean, any car will last a long time as long as you take care of it, but Volvos, they used to, I want to say they used to have a thing where like they would send you like a chip if you bought it new and it lasted like 300,000 miles.
Really?
Yeah, if I remember right. I could be wrong.
That's pretty rad.
Yeah.
So this is built on Volvo's P1 platform. So it's very similar to the S40, and in European countries, the Ford Focus and the Mazda 3. And these were built in Ghent, Belgium. And as far as I'm aware, all of them were built in Belgium, which is cool. To actually have a foreign car, not assembled in America, sold in America. I love that. I prefer that. That's usually where they end up being better cars. Like the GRs for Toyota are all only built in Japan as far as I'm aware. GTR has always been in Japan, stuff like that. It just makes it a lot cooler. There are tons and tons of other engine options available around the world. A lot more than most people would think. So they've got small petrol engines, they've got diesels, and of course, Skylers, and a lot of them in America, and really the best engine, it seems kind of collectively overall is agreed upon, is the 2.5 liter straight 5, or the T5, an engine that Volvo has made for a long time, and a engine platform that has become quite synonymous actually with a lot of European manufacturers. Audi has 5 cylinders that they've been doing for a long time, and Volvo's another one, and Volvo's T5 is fantastic. It sounds good, just like any other 5-cylinder. You put an exhaust on it, it sounds like a V10, like it's a lovely time, and of course it makes turbo noises. Now I don't know if our cameras will be able to pick that up here, and this is stock, especially performance-wise. It is completely stock, so it's not loud, but when you're driving it, you can definitely hear the whistle, and it's nice. Now, in the T5, or in this one specifically, it's all-wheel drive. We already know that. It's a T5, and the T5 Turbo made about 217 horsepower and about 236 pound-feet of torque from factory. This has probably lost some over the years. It definitely still needs a bit more of a tune-up. He's still working on some of those things. As for the V50, it got a facelift in 2008 with some minor interior changes. It also got a slight bump in power around that time. In 2009, the US got the R Design trim package, but it's only available with an auto. So you get the cooler car, but you get the worst transmission, at least in my opinion. It's an auto. It just makes the car not as fun. I mean, simple as that, at least for me. In 2010, it was briefly available again with a manual transmission and the T5. These earlier generations were available with a manual. Skyler has said so himself. He's too lazy to drive stick, so he doesn't, even though, like I've said before, in my opinion, that is the way to go.
It was more of a necessity type thing. Like, I would have rather gotten the big sedan as opposed to the station wagon, but
Like the S80?
yeah, I like the bigger ones. Because this one's a little tight. It's a little smaller than what I care for, but it's quick. It looks nice. It was within my budget. I wish it was better on gas.
The S80 has a V8. You think that would have been better?
It would have been the same.
In North America, the NA 5-cylinder all-wheel drive and manual transmission were all discontinued in 2011. This is definitely in the era of things transitioning, or the big end of things transitioning to all crossovers and SUVs and autos and just more laziness. Thankfully, as of late, us car enthusiasts and the enthusiast community has really stepped up a lot, and there's been manufacturers that have decided that, hey, these cars still sell, and most of the time they're going to be low volume anyway, so we're spending more to get what we want, and they're getting more money, which is fine. We're getting what we want instead of having to do it ourselves or stick with old cars, which, as you know, on this channel, I like my my 80s and 90s JDM anyways, so that's where I'm going to stick.
So me and our wonderful host did an oil change, put some zip ties on the clutch for the air conditioner, and replaced the rear suspension, well, just the shocks.
Do you want to talk about the AC fix?
So what was happening was that the engine was getting too hot and it was separating, and the clutch wasn't picking up and spinning, and it wasn't allowing the cold air to come through. And Aaron had looked up how to fix it online without going to a shop, and all the forums said if you just take 3 zip ties and you just wedge them in there and pull them real tight, it'll fix your problem, and it did. It fixed it.
So all that left at that time was auto, front-wheel drive T5, and R Design models. So they really started killing off the V50 in 2011, which is unfortunate. This is a cool car. It's a good-looking car. In fact, actually, 2011 was the last year for the V50 in the US and Canada, and it ended in with the 2012 model year, after producing nearly 520,000 cars. So there's 500,000 of these things in existence. He just happened to get a good one. Is there anything you want to do to the car?
I would like to wrap it. I want it white. But like, as far as like mechanically, no. It's Euro, it's gonna cost too much. Plus, I don't care if it's a race car. It's my daily driver. Like, I just want it white.
No wheels, tires, just wrap it white.
Just wrap it white. Maybe fix the rims because they need to be painted.
That's easy.
Yeah, but nothing crazy. Like I said, I'm not a car guy. I don't really care.
Now, this is an 07, and shockingly to everyone, it has under 100,000 miles. 0 rust. We're in the Midwest. That doesn't really happen. So this thing has been a treat. It looks good. It cleans up nice. Yeah, there's some dents and scratches around, but it is what it is, and it's actually a really decent car, and I don't see any reason to discontinue that. If he doesn't take care of this, I mean, it's on him, but this one right now is in really good nick. Just needs a few touch-ups here and there, and it's going to be a peach. Now for having, you know, just right around 230 pound-feet factory and all that, it's not the lightest car. It's also not the heaviest car. It is an automatic transmission as well. So it does get up and move, but also the gearing is kind of a little thing where first gear is weird and is like super torquey, ready to go. Like it gets you going. And then after that, everything is just serviceable. It's not bad. It's not slow, but it's definitely not fast. And that's fine. You know, back then, this thing was probably so much of a grandma car, no one really cared. But I'm gonna go ahead and get on it and we'll see how it goes. So that was safe. And definitely heard the turbo. There's a little bit of a whine. I don't know what that is at the moment. It sounds good. Like it'll move if you want it to. If you're worried about fuel economy with this, probably not get it because you're already running premium gas in here anyways. And we've been getting about, you know, just under 20 miles a gallon, which isn't phenomenal. And that's with mixed city driving. Yeah, if you're worried about fuel economy, don't get one of these.
Man, that's tough. I really like BMWs. Like, above all else, I like BMWs. I like the way they look. I like that you don't have to do anything to them, but I don't know enough about them to be able to tell you. I like the 7 Series. I like the big sedans, and I also like the crossovers. Those are nice, but...
So just a big Beamer.
A big BMW. I like room.
As you've seen previously on this channel, this car is going to present itself a lot on this channel. Skyler and I work together on a lot of things, and I take care of his car, so I'm, you know, producing content out of it just because it makes sense. Working on this thing so far has been a nice in-between of JDM ease and European ridiculousness and over-engineering. The oil change is silly. It uses more oil than one would think. You got to get the special tool for the oil filter housing. You got to, you know, take off under trays and stuff to change the oil, which is common nowadays. So that's like not a big deal. It's just a good noise. It's not a big deal, really. You're going to want to keep up with the additives and use good European oil, obviously, with these, because just the way things are designed and engineered, like it just works better with them. Obviously, you're going to want to use high quality parts in whatever car you own, but especially in something like this with the Euro design, follow the European specs because it'll pay off for you. It's definitely worth it. And then we did the rear shocks, which were 3 bolts, and they were on the outside. I've done rear suspension on a bunch of JDM cars back in the day. My GC, Impreza, I had to do rear struts on. I've worked on S chassis. I've worked on Miatas. Like, I've done suspension on a few Japanese cars, and it's almost always inside under interior bits that if it's old enough, the pieces are all brittle and breaking anyways, and it's just a pain. I get it, it's cheap and it kind of makes sense, but with this, having the 2 bolts up front and then your main bolt on the bottom on the upright and all that, it was just fantastic. So what about like the #1, maybe even the top 3, like dream car?
Oh, I would love an old Duesenberg limousine.
Okay.
I would love it. They were so hot. It's just a piece of artwork that drives around, and they're beautiful.
Just that?
Yeah.
Straight up, you want a 4-door Duesenberg?
Yep.
It's a pre-war cars.
Yeah, I like them.
So there are things like that. Like, this is a great car. I mean, it is a lovely car. I recommend Volvos to anybody as long as they've been taken care of. If they've been looked after, especially like these older ones. If they've been looked after, they're wonderful cars. The all-wheel drive system is great. I've never heard a problem with them. Obviously, having all-wheel drive, you're going to have more parts to fix, but I mean, duh. The engines are great. All the transmission seems to be great. They last, like, if you're in the rust belt, that's like the only thing. Like, they're gonna rust. Cars rust. So take care of it. This thing's great. I personally would not own this one in particular because it's an auto, but if it was a stick, I would definitely consider this as a daily driver. They look good, they sound good, they drive really well, and there is a bit of an aftermarket if you're into that, which, I mean, if you're watching my stuff, you probably are. I doubt a stocky boy is gonna be worried about watching me, but I mean, it's great. It's the workhorse. It drove us to the interview spot for him, carrying all of our stuff for the interview, and it just works. Like, it's that good. It's never let us down. It has a lot of warnings and stuff that pop up prematurely as like a, hey, this might be an issue, you should look into it. I appreciate that, and then I can just tap my button and it goes away. Like, these cars are rad. If you get the T5, which you should, it sounds great, it drives great, the power's nice for what it is. I mean, this thing drives so good. I'm taking corners faster than, you know, most people do, still within safety limits and all that, and it just takes it.
I mean, you can do Sky Comics. I don't do a whole lot with it anymore. You can Sky Comics with 3 S's on Instagram, Sky Comics on YouTube, Sky Comics on TikTok.
They're all the same.
Yeah, I think they're all the same.
So if it's taken care of or you modify it, the P1 platform from Volvo is pretty great and worth whatever you put into it. All right, everybody, so that's the first episode of Cool Rides and Hot Riders. Here's your Hot Rider. There's the Cool Ride. If you have any interest in being on this show or have your car showcased on this show, there is a Google form below. You can fill that out right now. I'm just keeping it to southern Wisconsin and northern Illinois unless you have some sort of special case. You can see it all on the form. Go ahead and fill that out. We'll get back in touch with you. You have a good time?
I had a great time.
Cool.
Yeah.
We'll see y'all next time. Thank you and peace out.
Anything else you want to know? It's a quick and easy interview.
I told you it'd be quick.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about the process?
Of what?
Like this?
The video or buying the car?
Sure.
I hated shopping for a car. I'm more of a, like, go to a car lot, pick out the car, drive it, and be like, okay, this is cool, buy it. I don't like the whole having to deal with people on Facebook Messenger and having to see what the service history is and all this other crap. Like, it's a lot just to buy a 20-year-old car. What is it, 17 years?
It's pretty good for
It's in really good shape, under 100,000 miles. The only thing is we got to do the fabric on the roof.
Cool.
Hell yeah.
I was thinking about this all night last night.
And now you're drawing blanks?
No, I just never really came to a fine conclusion of what I want to do. Glasses on or off, you think?
Glasses off, it's not sunny.
Ah.
Yeah, get all pretty.
Do I look good? Would you f me? Okay.
That'll be a fun little blooper.
All right, everybody, welcome to the first ever episode of a new series I'm starting on here called Cool Rides and Hot Riders.